Again, remember to be transparent in altering your boundaries. That transparency piece is really important so that people always know where you stand and where that line is, so that they can respect it and show you that they do respect it. And then of course, if they do respect it, you always affirm them for following through on your boundary. So you tell them thank you for doing that, I appreciate that you respect the rules that we've set up for the floor and for my time. Number 7, boundaries are proactive and not reactive. When boundaries are not well thought out and implemented with thoughtful consideration and consistency, we may implement them in a reactionary and uneven way. A. You will know that you are reactionary when you become emotional in defense of a boundary. B. A good boundary is enforced as an open and transparent rule ahead of time and not as a whim of the moment. For example, it is not a student's fault if he calls your room phone at 3 a.m. if you never told him that he couldn't do that and never shared with him the number for the on-call RA. So you have to take ownership for creating those boundaries and maintaining them, and you can't expect students to know what those boundaries are if you're not being transparent and setting them up. 8. If you have envy or infatuation, your boundaries are in danger. Envious or infatuated people fail to set good boundaries because they aren't focused on themselves. They are focused on that thing or person that they want. A. If you are attracted or overly admiring of someone on your floor, you must be honest with yourself about this and understand that this may hinder your ability to be consistent and fair in maintaining your personal boundaries with them. B. Think of how others may perceive your inconsistent behavior and how this threatens the legitimacy of the boundaries you have created with them. An example, if you are falling in love with somebody on the floor, then you must consult with the people who advise your position about how to handle this potentially compromising scenario. 9. Be aware of the power and influence as a leader, of your power and influence as a leader and role model. Remember that your authority gives you power over the people you serve. A. This kind of relationship is never a true friendship. While you have authority over another, you will always be a role model and never a real friend. B. Do not satisfy your friendship needs on your floor. Friends are people whom you have no authority over. An example, you can be friendly with people on your floor, but being a friend to them requires that you compromise the legitimacy of your authority. This creates two classes of students on your floor and is in practice unfair, and will start to unravel those boundaries that you've created for your floor. 10. The law of exposure. We need to communicate our boundaries. A boundary that is not communicated is a boundary that is not working. We need to make clear what we do or do not want and what we will or will not tolerate. We need to also make clear that every boundary violation has a consequence. A boundary without a consequence is just nagging. Be transparent and claim your time for yourself that you need to not be resentful of the time you have for the people you serve. Remember, you don't have to give and give and give and give and give and give and give. If you are transparent, fair, and consistent during that time that you do choose to give, then that's enough. Example, as a role model, what are you role modeling to students on your floor if you cannot create the proper work-life balance? If they see you failing in your work-life balance, then you're role modeling that work is everything and life comes second, which is a problem in our society. Finally, dealing with toxically needy people, so people who just need and need and need, and we've all dealt with people of this kind. Untreated individuals with personality disorders, which is a maladaptive way of getting basic social contact needs met, that's what a personality disorder is, are dependent on the compliance of others to feel okay with themselves. They resist boundaries in an effort to control, manipulate, and dominate. This scenario requires that you are extra communicative with them about your boundaries. Let them know where you stop and where they begin. Openly, honestly, consistently, and constantly. Again, openly, honestly, consistently, and constantly. Don't try to save them from themselves, to share with them the frustration that you might have if they aren't keeping a boundary, and then also affirm them if they do keep the boundary. They will, without a doubt, resist your attempts to be in charge and, depending on the degree of their disorder, may split by talking to other RAs about you behind your back. Make sure to present a compassionate, non-reactionary, and united front in maintaining solidarity with this student's primary RA and her boundaries for this student. A personality disorder will be marginalized by consistent boundaries and legitimate, united authority that practices upfront and fair consequences for repeated violation of the primary RA's set boundaries for this student. In conclusion, boundaries are all around us. We come across them every day. Cars have theft deterrent devices to prevent someone from stealing your car. Homes have deadbolts or locks to prevent someone else from invading your home and removing your possessions. Your office desk has a lock to prevent theft. Your locker at the club has a lock to keep your values safe. If your personal property is protected against theft, but you find yourself feeling like your emotional well-being is being stolen from you, then it's time to take steps to learn how to set boundaries so that your emotional well-being can be kept under lock and key. Think about it. We could go to a lot of effort and spend a lot of money to protect our material possessions, yet we often do little to protect ourselves. Aren't you worth more than all of your possessions? Alright, well, hopefully this will lead to some discussion, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. If you ever want to talk about this subject in concern to your floor, feel free to email me or one of the other counselors here on campus. Again, this is Mark Hutmeyer, and thanks for your time.